In the lab one, as I said, we're going to practice the idea of controls. In this case, it's the microscope lab. So think about you are using a microscope and you don't actually see your sample, or it doesn't look like it's in focus, or you're looking at some like little lines and you don't know if that's what you're supposed to be looking at. And I'll tell you a story so that you know where I'm going with this. As I said, the first time I used a microscope, I was already in college. I was freshman. My daughter, she got a microscope for her birthday from somebody when she was, I don't know, maybe she was 4 years old. And I was like, oh, I'm so happy, you know, we can do this together. And then I put a sample in there, or she puts the sample in there, and she can't see anything. And it's blurry, dark. And I go like, well, of course she doesn't know. She's 4 or however old she was. She was little. And I thought, okay, I teach this, so let me see if I can adjust the view to her, and then she's going to be marveled, just like I was. Like, she's going to see this thing and go like, oh my gosh, I never imagined that an onion looks like this. And so I looked at the microscope and I couldn't see anything. And I was like, all right, there are 3 things at play here, right? There is the microscope, there's the slide, that's the slide preparation, and there's the user. So when she couldn't see anything, I was frustrated, then I thought, okay, she doesn't have experience. Let's then change the user and have a user that has experience. And then that is going to be my control, right? Because at this point, we don't know which of these 3 is the problem, if the microscope, the slide, or the user. So change the user, but for this to be an experiment, your user has to be a control, right? It has to be somebody that knows what they're doing. Otherwise, you get just another child to look at it, then you still don't know. They can see the sample, you still don't know, because if they don't have experience, it might still be the user. Okay, so change the user. So I'm like, move over, let me look at it. And I don't see anything. I'm like, okay, maybe this slide is not a good preparation. So that's the second variable, right? Now I keep the user that knows what they're doing. I change the slide, which then I have to use a slide that I know is well prepared. And you can buy sets of slides, and of course, I bought a set of slides because I was like, no, I really want her to love this stuff just like I do. And how do you know that it's a slide? It's a good slide. It's a very thin section. It has color to it. And when you look at the slide without the microscope, you can actually see some structure. So you're like, okay, you should be able to see something using this slide that is a good, it's a well-prepared slide. So then I use the slide that is well-prepared, the person that knows what they're doing, and that one microscope, and still we can see what what you're supposed to see. We could see better without the microscope than under. And then we ruled out that I should get rid of the microscope, unfortunately, because I didn't want her to just be frustrated and lose the opportunity of falling in love with this thing. Okay, why did I tell you this story? To think about controls, right? There were 3 unknowns here, and we are trying to sort this out and to see which one is the culprit. But every time that you change it out, you need to change it out with something that you know is working. So on quiz week 4 next week, when I describe some scenario, then I'll ask you, how can you test which part of this thing that maybe has 2 components, which part of this is not working? Whichever part to change, you need to change for something that you know is working. And let's say there are 2 parts, and I'm asking you, how can you tell if part A is the one that's working or not working? Then part B needs to be something you know is working. Okay, so it's right now it's kind of cryptic, but you will know when you see the question. All right, good. Are you guys going to know when I ask you, how can you do experiment to rule out what is at play here, and it's always change one thing for something that we know a priori is not a problem.